Hey y'all, and welcome to Politibrawl. My name is Brian, and Eric Burleson delivers an amazing message not just about Doge, but how the Democrats used to be all for cutting government waste. Let's dive in.
We're trying to save this country for the next generation, and it would be nice if we had help. But instead, we have people that are fighting us on this. And I think that I would hate to be in the Democratic Party right now because you're in a really bad bind. You're having to defend all of this crazy spending, all of this crazy waste. So how do you do it? You do ad hominem attacks. You attack the messenger. Oh, Elon Musk, right? He's rich. He must be evil, right? That's the attacks. Really? You can't do any better than that, right? Let's talk on the policy. Help us. We're trying to save this country. This is and Elon Musk, who's making no money doing this, is trying to save this country. Why? Because he has invested in the United States of America more than anybody, right? So I think that we should embrace it. In fact, not a single company, governor of any state would ever turn down Elon Musk and his team of Doge from coming in and providing free services to right the course and financially in any state or organization. It's ridiculous that we would demonize someone that loves this country so much. Mr. Whitman, the formation of agencies via the executive action is not new, right? The formation of Doge is not new. Can you are you familiar with any other previous presidencies where they've formed organizations like Doge via executive action?
Yeah, so actually the agency that Doge is occupying is one that was created in a previous administration. So it is something that happens routinely. But I don't know if that answers your question.
Yeah, there's been the Office of Budget Management was created, Environmental Protection Agency was created, the U.S. Digital Service, which is now Doge, was created all by executive order, right?
And actually one other I'd add is USAID was originally created through an executive order by President Kennedy and then later formalized.
And then, Madam Chair, I have a video I would like to end with that just... Let's review, if we could cue that, and I want to remind my Democratic friends, at a point in which you once had the majority of the American people on your side, this is what your party believed in.
This report tells us how to cut waste, cut red tape, streamline the bureaucracy, change procurement rules, change the personnel rules, and create a government that works better and costs less.
I've read it, and where it says the president should, the president will.
Among the 800 recommendations, eliminating 12% of the federal workforce, merging some government agencies like the FBI, the DEA, and the Bureau of Alcohol, Tobacco, and Firearms, closing hundreds of government offices outside Washington.
From the day I took office, one of the commitments that I made to the American people was that we would do a better job here in Washington in rooting out wasteful spending. We thought that it was entirely appropriate for our governments and our agencies to try to root out waste, large and small, in a systematic way. It means cutting some programs that I think are worthy, but we may not be able to afford right now. A lot of the action is in Congress and legislative, but in the meantime, we don't need to wait for Congress in order to do something about wasteful spending that's out there. We haven't seen as much action out of Congress as we'd like, and that's why we launched on our own initiative the campaign to cut waste. And we're going to keep on finding every possible way that we can do that, even if Congress is not acting. There you go.
I think it speaks for itself.
He's absolutely right. This does speak for itself, and it furthermore speaks for the good people of the 7th District of Missouri, where Eric Burleson is a representative. Once again, Missouri being the show me state, and in this case, this is more than just show, it's also tell. So there's an old adage in movies, show, don't tell. I know, ironic given what platform this is, but regardless, I'm going to try to explain a little bit further just how deep this little rabbit hole goes, because that was at one point a time where the Democrat Party cared deeply about cutting government waste. Now, they've always been the spend now, tax later kind of party, but they got even worse under Barack Obama. Kind of ironic there, but that was at the time when he had to quite literally pay lip service to the idea of the government scaling back a bit because the recession was in full force at the time and Congress was sort of deadlocked. So he got the opportunity to say, I've got a pen and a phone, I'm going to start taking charge of the whole thing. And then, of course, during his presidency, the national debt got worse and worse and worse, all because we refused to talk about reforming Social Security, Medicare, and the interest payments, but that's a deeper conversation we'll get to in a bit. But ultimately, again, thank you, people of Missouri. You keep on electing, you've elected 2 great senators. Then Eric Burlison, that's just a fantastic little video right there. And let's take another trip down memory lane, back to the time where, Al Gore Jr. and Bill Clinton were a dynamic duo working with the Newt Gingrich-led Congress after the Republican Revolution of 1994, which was sort of the death knell of the Great Society. And again, let's go back down the rabbit hole just a little bit longer. The Great Society, created by Lyndon Baines Johnson, was an attempt to extend the FDR coalition and those policies and ideas of the New Deal to the rest of the American people. Except by that time, the New Deal had started to wear off, and the only good parts of the New Deal were pretty much the FDIC and the CCC, but the CCC was long gone at that point. So yeah, pretty much FDIC and the TVA. The rest, kind of murky. And so LBJ wanted to extend something similar to Social Security, and he did so with Medicare. And ultimately, that pushed the whole envelope of the idea of the Great Society. What they didn't understand was that there was a baby boom going on at that time, and then the next generation, Generation X, there was a baby bust. Essentially, there aren't enough Gen Xers to take care of the boomers. There are just enough millennials to take care of the Gen Xers, but not quite enough Gen Zers to take care of the millennials. So we quite literally have a population problem. But that's a longer topic for a longer day. So what am I getting at here? What I'm trying to make out is the fact that we have been increasing our spending policies time and time again throughout our history, just right before World War II, all the way through the 60s, and then ever since then, the Republicans have been working like crazy to shut this down. There's a great book called Money and Good Intentions Aren't Enough. It was actually written by a Democrat during the Reagan years who came to the conclusion that all these social safety nets don't work in American society. And again, that's a longer topic for another day. And it's where a lot of people really get tripped up because they don't really understand just how bad suburbia has kind of been for the American people. It's not been as great as we'd like to think it is. However, I do appreciate what's been going on. But regardless of that argument, I've got to bring this back to Doge. So in the 1990s, the federal government realized that they needed to reform things here and there. Newt Gingrich was the one with the mandate to come in and work with Bill Clinton and Al Gore to get this stuff under control. And so they did. Back in the 90s, we actually had a budget surplus. We were starting to pay down the debt. And then after 9/11 and the mini recession that happened after that, and then the wars in Iraq and Afghanistan, and then the big disaster struck in late 2005 when someone in the Republican Party let slip that they needed to talk about Social Security. After that, all hell broke loose. And so no one wanted to tackle the spending problem until Elon Musk and Donald Trump get elected in 2024. Because this talking point has been around for far too long. And we're already starting to see results of Doge. Doge, which has been embraced by Republicans and derided by Democrats, says that the biggest savings have come from the General Services Administration, followed by the Department of Education and the Environmental Protection Agency. For instance, EPA Administrator Lee Zeldin on Tuesday announced that the agency is terminating $20 billion in grants awarded by the Biden administration for climate and clean energy projects, while President Donald Trump has set about dismantling the Education Department as announced mass layoffs at the department. Doge cuts to the GSA include these lease terminations and cuts to support the training programs. So basically, we're cleaning up things that really need to be cleaned up. We're dealing with departments that have gotten too big and too bloated, and Democrats are losing their minds over this. It's almost comical at this point. And it doesn't matter that these are small cuts compared to our other big expenditures. We've got to start somewhere. And it's starting off in a way that's directly benefiting the American taxpayer, and that, at the end of the day, is the most important part of this whole situation. The second most important is that it's been doing correctly under the law. So we're in the middle of these legal battles going back and forth, but we're starting to understand that if there's a problem with the process, the courts will find it. That is the amazing part of our American system, and so we're trying to figure out now, what else can we cut to save the American taxpayer, to save your hard-earned money, and just as importantly, save for future generations so we are no longer saddled with a ridiculous amount of debt, which is now currently taking its toll. This has been a long time coming, and I have been very appreciative of the work Elon Musk is doing, that Donald Trump is overseeing, and of course, this subcommittee with Eric Burlison, who has put forth a wonderful little video showing that Democrats did once care about fiscal responsibility. But now the ball's in the other court, and it's the GOP's turn to start dealing with our spending problems. Folks, my name is Brian. Hope you enjoyed that segment here on Politibrawl. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Catch you on the next one, and until then, y'all have a good one.